Welcome back to the GLAC Studios oil painting tutorial. This is class 3. I'm Gomati Sivasankaran. We have started the last two classes. We have started looking at some basics about oil painting, the kind of paints you can buy, and how to take care of the canvas while working on it. The important things about a canvas, that small little nuances that go unnoticed, and then you are disappointed at the last. So how do we fix that? How do we take care of all that? And we also did start working on a portraiture of a baby. So that's what we did. In the first class, we started with that, and then we moved on in the second class to look at some basics about measurements that I work on. We looked at golden ratio, how that works, and how I approach golden ratio, especially when it comes to making portraiture. So that's what we saw, and we also saw how to start working on the canvas to just draw the superstructure of the character or the subject that we are working on. We have a pretty sweet little baby girl with us to work on, and like I said in the previous two classes, the link to the photograph is also available if you want to download and work on the same. But I'm also suggesting that you pay more attention to something real and available close to your eyes, naked eyes, instead of just working on some photographs. So if you have picture of any other child that you can work on, please do try that along. So we are now moving on to looking at some more levels of detailing. This, I wouldn't call it detailing, I would say blocking. So blocking meaning, for me, I'm just saying this is where things are going to be inside my canvas. So for blocking, again, I don't necessarily go for many colors. If I need, I do also choose depending upon the kind of work that I'm doing. Some of them really need various color blocks for me, especially when I'm working on some supernatural stuff. Then I'm working closely with a client on a particular painting that is representing a godly subject or so. Then I have to have some colors depicting things to understand. Otherwise, in a normal case like this, where we are just trying to work on a portraiture, then I still go with the same brown or earth color tonality, and I do add a little bit of white to tell the difference between a dark and light. So the focus for us today is definitely going to be on dark versus light while we block. So that's going to be for the exercise for us today. I am taking the same brown color. I have a little bit with me. I'm going to need a little more. So I have been using My Mary brand's Van Dyke Brown, and I will continue that. We also talked a lot about switching brands and what happens and not. If you have more questions, please do write in the comments. We can always discuss and debate on this. This is an ever so growing topic for oil painters, especially. I'm now trying to find a little bit of white. Look at this. So this is me as an artist in transition between different brands, and I have a Van Gogh brand of titanium white that I'm using. I ran out of stock with the old supplier, and we don't have the old supplier anymore in the surroundings where I live. So I was in a way forced to switch to a different brand, and I'm still experimenting. I see the difference though. This is a This brand is really very good. The brands Rembrandt and Van Gogh are very good. In terms of the color palette, I am liking it. But only thing that I'm a little bit sad about is that it dries very slowly. For the ones who are using a faster drying medium, maybe this is an advantage to use, but for me it's slightly a disadvantage. I am sensitive to different smells, so I avoid as much as possible any strong smelly stuff in my workplace. So I'm still using the natural cold pressed lin oil, which I already have on a metal lid like this poured. So I will continue to use that. And I'm taking a bit of the white for my tonalities. So we are going to do dark and light tonalities. And yes, for now, let's look at where is dark, where is light. Let's start with the lighter areas, the easier areas. One that is looking really white. We will start with that first. So I'm starting with the eyes. Let's look at the eyes. Did we make it from yesterday? It looks like there could be some improvement on the eyes, isn't it? So I already see some mistakes. Let's keep on working along with that. So I'm starting with the white. I know the sides of the eyeball will have to be white, so I'm doing that. And while I do that, I know how to correct as well. So I'm just doing a little more than what I planned on, because I know that there is some space that I missed slightly here. And it's the same mistake here that I noticed that I should have made it a little more bigger on this side as well. So I'm correcting as I go along. We have the white of the eyes, and when it comes to the white of the eyes, then we also work on the eyeball. She looks now to the eye spacing that I want. And here we have again dark and light coming up near her eyes. So if you look at the approach that I do, always starting with the eyes, for me, every day I start working on the eyes and seeing if I can improve it one more step, going close to the image as much as possible. So that's what I try to do. And let's do the, so it's also good. I like to work spontaneously, so I don't mix much of the colors on the palette. I want things to go directly. That's one style that people work on. But some of them would prefer to have everything mixed and set up on their palette before they start. So that's also a good working habit to go around. For me, I like this liveliness of bringing the palette on the canvas. So for me, the palette does the job of having temporarily, it's a temporary storage device for me to have the colors put out for me. So I try more on working alongside and blending and creating colors live on the canvas. This is my style. But for ones who prefer everything to be done, then it's also a good idea to take a little bit and have a white mixed up and creating different tonalities and saying, okay, is this what I want or not? Maybe try building more and keeping it ready. That's also a very good way to be more organized. I would say it's a good habit to be organized. in that manner. So I'm going back to my old habit of having spontaneity. So not much of mixing here. So this is what I am doing with a darker tonality. I have started with the darker tonalities a little bit here, and I noticed there is some dark tonality under her eyes. A little bit. So I did that. Okay. And let's do the same thing under the other eye. This is where I can see that there is this shade ending, and this is where a lighter tonality comes up, isn't it? So for me, that is a little lighter. This is darker. And even when we say dark, dark, we also have to keep in mind we're still talking about a very delicate subject, a child, So she's not really dark. There's also about softness, in her body texture that we need to always keep in mind. It's a good habit to keep in mind where we are getting to, visualizing where we are going to go. So it cannot be really hard as well. So I will try to have that in mind, keeping that sensitivity and the beauty of a small little baby and enjoying the whole thing. Do not stress yourself out too much. Like I said, there's always going to be some more time for us to fix errors. That's the only way we learn. I at least learned a lot by making mistakes, and I still am happy about learning through them. As long as we have learned something out of it, it's good. So that was the darker tonality. And a little bit underneath her nose, coming close to her lips. That's where I see a lot of mistakes with my lips also that I'm going to fix. So see, when we work on it more and more, we get to understand the mistakes we can improvise on, spaces to improve. This is where I see. And the most part of her forehead, the girl's forehead, because it's covered with her hair, there is a slightly darker tonality. So that's something obvious. So go for something obvious that you can easily find first. And let's do that. So I'm mixing a bit of white to see. So that's the space where it is slightly darker because of a lot of hair falling on her forehead. That's slightly dark. Okay, I did that, and while doing that, I'm seeing, is there any other place that it could be darker? Did we miss something out with the eyes? Still some more place of darker. And of course, underneath her lips. But her lips also definitely needs a lot of adjustment to work on. So let's focus on step by step. So I'm doing the darker tonality, and then I see the lip has to be adjusted as well, slightly. So I take, that's where her lip goes. This is where it is. So I take the space where I made a mistake and I'm hiding it. these are still darker tonalities here. I think I drew a little bit of a bigger lip for the child. So I tried to fix that by hiding the space. The upper lip also is slightly bigger. Let's do that. Hiding. Down. Here. So there you go. We have done that. And then let's try to do more of the lighter tonality. See if we are getting somewhere. And between dark and the light, there is also a neutral. There are many tonalities, to be honest, that you can find in a baby's face or any portrait for that matter. There's always many, but we are now trying to spot some obvious ones. So it's blocking is one step above drawing or sketching, but it is, I would say, many steps below detailing. So don't jump into getting into the details yet. It could overwhelm you if you are starting for the first time or fairly new. So don't jump into that. It's okay if it is, oh, I see some more tonalities, I should build that. Of course, I also have that anxiety that, oh, I have muddled up with the ideas of where should the colors go in an attempt to get into the details really fast. So just try avoiding that until and unless you are getting comfortable with the idea of blending steps also. Yeah. So right now we are only focusing on the dark and light, not too much into the detail. Trying to see if there is possible to. So I would say one advantage with this kind of brand that is very slow in terms of drying is that I can keep on reworking on it for many days. That is helpful, but when I have a deadline to finalize, then I feel a little bit let down. Otherwise, it's a good brand. I like working on it. So I did that. And now you get to see the lighter shades coming off under her eyes. Can we see it's clearly the spacing? I have made a mistake, so that's also obvious. And I'm just doing a little bit of darkening here to blend out and bring out the darker tonality here. Just did that. And yeah. Going back to the upper eye, the area where it is a little brighter, the sunlight is falling on her right cheek and the right side of her face. That capture here, and even at this stage, when I'm working on blocking, I again try to have the filling, filling of the color on the canvas fully as much as possible, because I want every layer to be filled nicely. I like it that way. And again, I see a mistake that I could fix right away. The face slightly bigger than what than what we are supposed to do. So I noticed that mistake, so I'm fixing that. So I'm just taking the inner root to adjust it immediately. Let's go to the cheek. For ones who are looking at the brush, what I'm using brush number 4, round brush. It's not a fancy product. It's a it's a handy brush that I've been using. Soft synthetic brush, of course, the pattern. So let's go on to the right side, or my right side, or the left side of the cheek of the girl. And this is where there is another tonality. So it's not too dark, but it's slightly darker than the right side of her cheek. So I will make sure that I build another tonality. Again, I don't build on the palette. I go along with it. So I just picked up a little bit of white and the Van Dyke brown. So I'm just going to see how it goes, and if there is any difference that I'm able to build. Otherwise, I will just keep on adding colors to this to make it come up. Okay, that's what her eyes are. And cheek, again, mistakes with the cheek that I notice. It's not that curvy up here. It is curvy up here, and I did a mistake. So I noticed that, and I'm fixing it. So getting the cheek right here, and going for filling in this space. If you have noticed, I'm not taking too much of oil. There's a concept on fat over lean and so on. There's a lot you can read about it, but for somebody that is going on an experiment with oil paints much, the tendency will be like adding more and more and thinking, oh, I need to add more. Actually, less is more. And this I will repeat again and again, maybe 1,000 times or more. Less is really more. So avoid having too much around. And a slight spot of it will do. We don't want the oil running all over the place. And you will appreciate why we used very less when we start working on deeper layers as well. The tonality is slightly different, but I know where I want to make it a little bit darker as well. So I'm just seeing where it can go slightly darker and building on that, blending on that, bring it down. Did we get that? To a certain extent, yes. Okay, so we've got it, and I'll do the same thing under her nose. There's some space under her nose, and this is slightly, it's catching light, isn't it? Under her nose, there is some space that is catching light. Let's keep that. This is a space that is catching light. And also, there is another space under the cheek catching light. So we'll continue on that. So I have the tendency of doing, when I have light in the brush, then I do the white in the brush, and I do the lighter part. and so on. So you can see that it's really spontaneous, that I'm really avoiding mixing too much on the palette. And like I said, it's just my style. It's okay. Do it the other ways also. Mhm. The lips are slightly darker for now, and it's not exactly, full lip that is dark. Remember, it's usually the when the upper lip and the bottom lip touches each other, the space is a little darker because it's really hard for the light to fall on it for us to catch that. So that's usually the darker partition that we need to be aware of with the lip. Children always ask how to draw the lip and so on. So it's just that line we need to be aware of first to do that darker space, and where the lips end, the joint, we do that, and then fill the rest of the space with a slightly lighter tonality. We'll go into the details later. Yes. But now we have this. And let's do the head part also, isn't it? The forehead. Now I say I am able to see a little more of things. There is some lighter spot here in between the hair strands, so that will come up. So I'm just doing that. But I also noticed something that I made a mistake of last time. So the thickness of the eyebrow, maybe I can a little more. I did that. And then the other side, it's not that thick, it's a slightly thicker because it's this side also has her hair falling, which is not showing much of her eyebrow. So just do that. I'm just trying to see where things are. And then I will now fall into the rest of the space. In the rest of the space, it's not white, but it is having another tonality. So I'm trying to have that. So I noticed that I took a lot of white, so it is going much brighter than what I planned on. So even if this is also a way I'm checking for myself if that is right or wrong, and if it is not that much that I want, then I'm taking a little bit of the brown and blending it together along to lighten it up or darken it up, whatever that works well here to go well with this part. This. So that was the part about the face. We did talking of the face. It does take a little bit of time, but with practice, we also speed up. Where to lighten, where to darken, and so on. So if you are doing it faster than me, fantastic. If you are feeling that this is faster for you and you need to slow down, I would say pause and slow down and take your time and then come back. to the next steps, whatever. So right now I'm moving on to the ears. I know that it is, this ear is really dark on the side. Much of it is invisible. It's only a slight part of the upper side of the ear that is visible. So I'm just showing that, trying to add that. Yeah, that. And this side, the ear, I have managed to put in the basic of the ear. This I did. And now for the neck. So I'm still not on the hair. I know that it's going to be a darker portion, so I'm not worried much about it. At this stage, I also like to do something, just to see, there's the light of the eyes. I love to have it. Even though I'm not fully done, I like to have it in the child. So, light in the eyes. Where is it? It's coming here. And then over here, we need to understand what could have happened. So it's also reimagining what could have happened. So the light, the natural light is coming from the right side of her face. So that's what is catching on the right eye. But the left eye also catches some light, daylight, and possibly light from the camera or something like that. So there are, different aspects coming, and that is also seen slightly on the right side as well. So I'm doing that, just figuring out. And at this stage, like I said, even if there is some mistake, it's okay. We can always fix it. Just to keep guessing that. This is one tendency I also have. With the eyes, I want more details. This is what we need to avoid also, to not to get boggled down by too much detailing. I just like the aspect of the eye looking at me even before the painting is complete. That's why I work a little more on the eyes. This is my habit. I've got that. Mm-hmm. With the eyes again, it's easier to see if that is now bigger or smaller. The circle as such, I think we got it right. For the most part of it, we got it right. But I can again see that there is one space for improvement here. Many, of course. It's not that big, so I'm making it tinier here. Bringing up the white slightly close up. Yes. So I think it is enough playing with the eyes. Let's go back to the neck. Again, with the neck. Remember, the neck is visible, but it is slightly visible. Never forget that. This is one tendency, when you have a subject like this leaning over such a delicate part, delicate subject, isn't it? So it's a soft skin, and it's easy for us to miss some things like that. Cannot see much of it clearly. That's also one thing when it comes to pictures, I can do that. Got it covered. Taking a darker tonality for the chest area, close to where her collarbone is, or you cannot even see the collarbone of the child yet. Yeah. So doing that. Also, this is something I always suggest my children to work on. When you're blocking, filling, they still have a tendency to go in different directions. Remember the direction of your brush stroke is very important at every stage of it. So I will stick to a circular movement here to fill, not go on, doing brushing straight or, brushing horizontally or something like that. So I avoid that, and I would like to, even at this stage of blocking and filling, I would like to do it in the same angle as the angle of the element that I'm trying to draw or paint. So every single block that we are filling, do it in the same angle that is in alignment with the space that you have provided for that block. We did that. Now we do the darker part of her hair. Let's do that. And let's fix the mistakes also simultaneously. I figured out that she's possibly having a rubber band or something on her hair, on her left side, and that's pulling something away, some of the hair strands away, and she's got a clip or something, or maybe a similar rubber band on her left hand side. So these two are pulling things in direction. And maybe she's being very playful to contrast that pull. There's been hair falling in opposite way right in front of her hair. This happens with children, isn't it? I think it happens with all of us when we have some tension pulling our hair. So just I'm at this stage, though we are not working on the detail. I'm again repeating myself. I'm just looking at the angles where the hair strands are going. So this is going towards the back. These are hair strands going towards the back. So I'm doing that. I'm just looking at that. Okay, just that. Hair strands going towards the band. This is something, I don't know how she managed to achieve that. I need to ask children how they achieve this kind of hairstyle. Interesting. Okay, so these are hair going again, at least partly trying to go to that direction and partly fighting away. So there are many directions up there, but at least for now the block is towards this direction. And then I noticed that there's some more of the forehead that I managed to cover too much of. Maybe should be visible. So it's in that. And I'm checking if I have had too much of the forehead or is it right. For now it looks okay. And then we are now fighting with at least the hair is fighting with the other rubber band on this side. Or the clip, whatever that is, trying to, that's a huge fight. I can see, the curves. It's interesting. Huh? Let's do the curves. Okay. That's how things are. The fighting on the hair with the rubber band was there. And the ones that lost the fight and entered in the forehead will go here, but we're not going into the detail. We're just putting some of the lines for us to show where it would go. Yeah? That's also it's going to go. enough. Okay. We have done some of it. Now, I think it looks a little easier with the white shirt as well. Oh, it's all white shirt. It's not white. There are shades again, same way, but it's an opposite. So we used for the face. I tried to use more of the brown and less of the white, especially in the places where the light is catchy. I did that. For now, to use the white over here, I will start doing, there are two different ways to do it. Fill it up and start marking fill it up fully, start marking wherever you see the darker tonalities. That's one style. Or do it one by one, step by step, the way we just did it. Should I show you in the different way to just fill it out? So it might look faster, but it also has its own challenges. So right now, I'm not concerned about the shapes much, but even though I am going to fill, look at the direction in which I am filling. So I'm only filling, I'm not bothered about the shapes yet, but still I will go along with the shape of the body, shape of the shirt, and fill. Here I take the space out wherever I made the adjustment. I wanted to show I'm filling. So we are filling still, not worried about the lighter and darker space. So this is another approach to it. I'm doing this for a block where I can see, a majority will be the same color and there will be some strokes involved. So it's up to you to take a decision on how you want to approach this. Filling a face like this fully and then starting to work on it could be more challenging. But the ones that know how to do it, I don't think it's a problem. So there are people doing it as well, like this for the face. So as long as you're comfortable with your method and you can achieve, it is okay to try different approaches. Remember, we are experimenting, we are learning. And the more we experiment, the more we learn. The direction, how you are moving the brush, the stroke is very important. There is one tendency, and this I have seen in children working with me, that they tend to use the brush and take a lot of puddle of white, thinking that it will be easier to not go back frequently to the palette. and this puddle really starts lumping up in the end of your brush, that's disturbing you, and most of the time it will also fall on places where you don't want it. So it's always good not to have too much. Frequently going back to the palette. Of course, it is a little bit of a challenge, but keep the palette as close as possible, as clean as possible, and you can achieve it. And if you have accidentally gotten too much, there is a way to roll the brush. I will show you how to roll the brush. Rolling the brush like this will help remove any excess. But if you've got too much of it, even the rolling is not helping at a time, then your only way out will be to clean the brush. Go for a fresh one. But it's not helping you in the process. It will distract you, push paint along in places where you do not want. That you don't want. So I have filled in the space now, and now I will focus more on the light and dark. The light is already there for me, and now I will start working on the dark. So slightly only the tip of the brush goes with the brown that I need, and I'm starting to look at the spaces where I have to put in the shade. I'm starting with her arm here. So I see that this is where there is one depth where the fold of her shirt is going like this. So I've got that captured, and I know that that fold is continuing here. So I got that captured. In a direction, like it's not a perfect one, so I'm just going like this. Captured, and because of the folds, now we see the white also needs to be enhanced here. Do that. Then let's look at close to her cheek. There's this lighter space. Do you notice the mistake that I made? The distance is really big. So this is exactly where I am going to make again the adjustments. Let me do the right one first. So this is where it goes like this. This is the right way it's going up and up there. This is the right angle, and the other one can be adjusted slightly with the shading. Then it shows that there is much more distance than we expected, isn't it? So things can be adjusted here. That it goes here. That's how it looks like now for me. So I will do the same thing on her shirt in other sides as well. So I know that from her neck there are lines going around. In the space where she is pulling her own shirt to push herself forward, crawling. Do that, and then there is this. Sometimes the dark might not be that dark, so just be aware of it. And even at a stage where you have noticed the mistake and you haven't corrected it, there is There's something called awareness, just being aware of where things are and how we can manage. That's one step to learning. And around her neck, the spaces around her neck, and where just falling like this. You got it? Nearly there with the shirt. You see that only with a white and a brown, we have now reached a stage where we are able to block the face of this child, and we have also blocked the shirt. And similarly, we will do the hands. And let's do the hands. If it's a little too much, let's do the hands. And also, because there's going to be a lot of decision making on, remember I said that we're not going to copy 100%. So there's a lot of imagination we are going to work with now where we want to place this beautiful child. So we will do that in the next class. We will work on the hands. So we'll do something similar to the face that we did. A similar exercise as the face. We will do that to the hands. And then we will also try to decide on what kind of background we want to put the child in. That'll be interesting, I guess. Yes. So to summarize what we did today, we started with a step called blocking or filling. And to do that, we only used, again, going back to our the brown color that we used, the Van Dyke brown, and I took a little bit of white. And there are multiple methods of approaching the blocking, and some people prefer more detailing in the blocking. I prefer slightly detailed, especially on the eyes, but I avoid detailing and do only blocking as much as possible. While mixing colors, also having the palette ready with the different shades, and only using those shades in different places, using different brushes for each shades. That's also a very organized approach, but you can also be spontaneous. That's how I showed you with this. And we learned how to go with different shades spontaneously in each and every space. We also learned another technique of filling the space with a monotone, like here we did the white only, and then starting to put in the shades wherever needed. So that's also another approach that we learned today. I hope you like this, and I hope you stay with me for the other classes also to see more of how we are growing together along with this little one, and learning more of oil painting, and hope you're enjoying more of oil painting. Thank you. See you next class.